On this episode, I'm back with our Journey into Imagination series as I sit down with my new friend, Conor Brown from Vacation Kingdoms. Today's October 11th, 2024, and this is episode 710 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and while I will not be joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda, today, I will be soon joined by my new lovely friend, Conor Brown of Vacation Kingdoms. But first, make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. You can also catch us on TikTok at MSM Podcast. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. And if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you're planning that trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, you did not get those dining reservations you so desperately wanted, don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. And if you're ready for that next bucket list trip, our trusted partner, MEI-Travel, will handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer free vacation planning services and have nearly 20 years of experience creating memorable vacations. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel for a fee-free, no-obligation quote today. Conor Brown is the founder of Vacation Kingdoms. He's a lifelong theme park fan and traveler, a former Walt Disney World cast member, and current travel agent who loves to help people plan their vacations to the destinations he loves. As an Orlando local, Conor visits the theme parks of Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando weekly. Living so close to the cruise ports of Florida allows him to set sail frequently aboard Disney Cruise Line as well. Conor visits these destinations so often, not just because he loves them, but because he is dedicated to bringing you the most up-to-date trip planning advice. Let's welcome Conor Brown to the Main Street Magic Podcast. Conor, thank you so much for joining me here at Main Street Magic. I am super excited to have you on as one of my new friends here.
That's right. A new friend, but already making connections. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk Disney, as always.
Yeah, and I get to learn more about you. Our listeners get to learn all about you. We met at Momentum just a couple weeks ago that Lou Mangello puts on every year from WDW Radio Nation, and it was just an awesome event. And, yeah, it was cool. We got to connect, and I thought, all right, I got another episode of this Journey into Imagination coming up. Conor seems like he'd be a lot of fun to have on. Let's introduce our listeners who maybe, don't already know you. Where does your love of all things Disney and like theme parks come from? Is that something you grew up with?
Yeah. So, the way I tell the story is I always say that it was born into me. And that's because my mom did the Disney college program back in the day.
Oh, wow.
She always hates when I say back in the day, but that's when it occurred, right?
Yeah.
So she went to Disney World a couple times growing up, one time to Disneyland. My dad did some Disneyland growing up in his, he went out to University of San Diego, so he was out there with his cousins and whatnot. But my mom did the college program, and she worked on the Wedway People Mover and the Star Jets, which are now both known as the TTA People Mover and the Astro Orbiter.
Wow.
So, she always loved it. I first went when I was about 3 years old, staying at Port Orleans. Then it was called Dixie Landings back in the day. And we kind of went every other year, and it was awesome. I just remember kind of falling in love with it as soon as I could formulate memories about it, right? As soon as I could take what I loved about the trip and then have it last with me for the entire year, that's when I really started to love it. And I remember just one time we were in Disney, and my mom just mentioned, I used to work here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's impossible. Like, you're my mom.
Yeah.
You're not a cast member. Those two things don't make any sense. And she explained it, and I'm like, I wonder if that's still a thing. So I went back home after that vacation, fired up the internet, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's still a thing. So even before I knew, what college I wanted to go to, what I was going to study, I knew I wanted to do the Disney college program. So I mean, like most, not like most, I will say that there's more people coming to theme parks and Disney later in life than maybe when I was growing up. But like a lot of people, I just grew up going on those vacations, and those vacations formed such a strong connection with me
Yeah.
that the time when I wasn't down in Florida, when I was back up in Maryland, just outside DC, where I grew up, um, I was just feeling it, consuming theme park content, Disney content, right? Just trying to fill the void until I could get back down to Walt Disney World. But then my love of other theme parks. I'm a huge Universal fan. I love
Hmm.
other regional parks. That didn't come probably until later in life, once I moved down here for Universal, especially, and I could go consistently to
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. We have that Maryland connection. And now
Yeah,
look at us, right? Who would have
right.
thought? Um, yeah.
Just a couple Moco boys coming down to
Seriously,
Florida.
I know
Yeah,
it's so funny, and I mean not to be so cliche and stupid with kind of the dad jokes and stuff, but I mean it is a small world after all. Like
yeah.
it's just so interesting, and that was one of the things that being at Momentum is most of us all there are Disney fans, and we have some sort of Disney business or hobby or whatever it may be. But when you start getting down on that deeper level, you see all these additional connections and the way that things kind of intertwine, and it's incredible. Like it really is amazing all over that one love for something like the Disney parks. It's pretty cool.
And I think that's what's the cool thing about it, right? Like it's not necessarily a regional based love. Like you
Yeah.
could love a sports team, and a lot of that is either where you're from or where your family's from, or
Hmm.
maybe you just had a strong connection to a player on that team, probably because of where they're from or they went
Yeah.
to school. But with Disney, it's this thing of it kind of goes across all spectrums, right? No matter where you're from, there's so many different walks of life that love the theme parks in general. So I think that there can be, people that you're compatible with that also love Disney. It's not an either or kind of thing.
Yeah. So you grow up around Disney, you fall in love with it, you move to Florida. What made you decide that you wanted to get into content creation, doing, your website, helping people plan vacations, a podcast, blogging, vlogging, all the other ogging that there is? What made you decide that, hey, here's what I want to do now?
So I had a very simple plan for my life. It was very simple. I was going to go to college. I was then going to work on the Disney College program, which was in the theme parks. I was going to roll that into a professional internship, which is more at the corporate level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going to roll that into a full-time gig at Disney, and I worked there for the rest of my life. Right? Super simple.
Perfect plan.
I got a third of the way there.
Yeah, there you go.
I did the Disney College program. I got denied from every professional internship I ever
Oh,
applied
no.
to. I've gotten denied from every job that I ever applied to at Disney, but I did a third of it, the Disney College program. So that was right after college. So graduated, moved down to Florida. I worked front desk at the Yacht and Beach Club resorts. Great time. I loved working there because people would check in and then you would see them throughout the rest of their trip,
Yeah.
right? So you could form a connection with them at the beginning and then check in with them on subsequent days as they were coming back from the parks and stuff, which was really, really cool. And then I extended and I got to work at the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom. Then it was the newest ride in all of Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
So it was, going from the relatively quiet Yacht and Beach Club to the busiest attraction in the busiest theme park in the entire world.
Yeah.
Totally different experience, even though it was only 2 miles away from each other, right? I loved the chaos of Mine Train working there. I loved the immediate emotions people had coming off the ride, right? But I was a little upset that I didn't get to form the bonds with people,
Yeah.
right? You want to get as many people on that ride as possible in as efficient manner as you can so that more people can enjoy and experience it. So you didn't have that you had that instant gratification of people getting off and saying that was awesome. You didn't have that delayed gratification where you could check in with them time and time again. So I was basically working on the college program for about a year. Once that ended and I didn't have any professional internships or any other full-time gigs lined up, I'm like, you know what? I got to put my degree to use. My degree was in communications marketing. So I decided to go back home to Maryland, just outside DC. And I worked in marketing for a while. I was doing that for a couple of years, but in the back of my head, I always thought, if something comes up at Disney or they ever reach back out to me or whatever, I would drop what I have and I would go after it,
Yeah.
right? And one day I just remember sitting there and I'm like, why am I letting someone else define my future, right? Why am I making it so out of my control? And I had, forever listened to podcasts and been on message boards and blogs and knew that there was an opportunity to create my own content and maybe create my own destiny. So I was like, you know what? Why not just start and see what happens? And in 2017, I started what was then called WDW Opinion. And it was really just a way, again, to fill that void. So previously, when I was filling the void, consuming the content, now I was going to try to fill the void in between my Disney trips of creating the content. The reason I wanted to start doing that as well is because in the parks, I realized it was already so complicated, right? So maybe I can make it a little less complicated and make people have a better time because it's stress-free, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of do that. It started as a blog, then eventually became a podcast. I had a co-host that was my best friend. Eventually, I wanted to grow it more. He started having a family. I was like, hey, man, I need to do this a little bit more. So he comes on every once in a while, but now it's mainly me. Pandemic hit. I knew I wanted to be back down in Florida. Made my way back down to Florida eventually. But since then, my love has grown into, also loving Disney Cruise Line, also loving Universal Orlando more. So recently I've done a rebrand from WDW Opinion to Vacation Kingdoms, which is kind of that one-stop shop for Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, and Disney Cruise Line content to help people plan that. Before I came down here, I also was trying to monetize it in some way, right? Maybe not to monetize it to leave my corporate gig immediately and do this full time, but monetize it at least to prove if there is a proof of concept to do that. And then also just to offset the costs that were involved with it, or to offset my Disney trips, right? Which I think a lot of people get in. So that's when I started doing travel agent stuff on the side and using my content as a way to kind of get people in and help them plan their vacations, as well as just giving them content about tips, strategies, and those sorts of things. So that's kind of how I became an auger, as it is, blogger, podcaster.
Well, I mean, you get to kind of create your own destiny, which is super cool. During that time that you were with Disney, the college program, and being a cast member, was there any moment or like a story or something that changed your perspective and view on theme parks, whether that's positive or negative? My fear would always be that the magic gets lost because you see all the bells and whistles and you see, all the gears that make this thing move. How did it change your perspective?
It only made me grow and appreciate it even more.
Yeah.
I think you get to a certain point where you're such a fan that it's not necessarily, people are like, oh, I don't want to see how the sausage is made. I'm like, show me, right? Where's the casing? How do we get this bad boy done, right? And I think all those little details that happen backstage, but also the total 180 shift, because days are grueling, right? So when you go on your 15-minute break, you just vent about whatever's going on, about guests being unruly, right? Or whatever it is. And having this kind of camaraderie with your fellow cast members, it was really cool to see that you could rally around a group of people and then go back out and do the job and stuff. So all of those things, all the behind the scenes stuff was so cool to me, just because it's so interesting to go to a place so often and there's this little wall that's only, a couple inches thick, and there's a whole nother world on the other side of it that you've never seen before. But that world is running the place that you love. Utilidors, of course, are cool, right? Those little things. At the end of the night at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, when someone collects all the lost and found, you have to walk it down to Main Street, USA. All the guests are gone. I used to volunteer to do that all the time because I loved walking through a completely empty Magic Kingdom. It was awesome, right? So those little things just help me gain a greater appreciation. And I think more so, I know, you're big on, I think I saw your wife with the hat. What was it? Treat cast members nicely.
Yeah, be nice
is that
to
what
cast members. Yep.
Be nice to cast members.
Yeah.
Amen to that. I mean, that just grew my appreciation of what every single cast member in that park does. to make the magic day in and day out.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's such a great answer. Did you ever find something crazy with the lost and found? Is it mostly just sunglasses and hats, or there's some weird stuff showing up ever?
So, um, cell phones. I don't know if they're weird, but it's just like I'm for me, I don't lose stuff, knock on wood,
Yeah.
right? I've lost
Yeah.
a pair of sunglasses once on Space Mountain. Um, but for the phone thing just seems crazy to me. And then the
know.
flip side of it is when they get off the roller coaster and they're like, I dropped my phone up on the lift hill. Could you stop it and I'll go out and get it? Like, no,
Right.
no, we can't do that. What are you talking about? Gotta wait until the end of the night and then
Yeah.
maybe we'll find it. That was always crazy to me just because that's such a we're so tied to it and
Yeah.
it's such an expensive device. No, I do remember one time. So at the end of the night, everyone gets done and then somebody has to do the track walk, which is walking the entire track, checking certain systems, right, and then collecting all the lost and found there. I remember a coworker of mine coming back after the track walk, going to our coordinator and saying, "Hey, here are all the hats, and I found this. It's this really weird piece." He like thought it was like a hieroglyphic or like a fossil or something. And our coordinator takes one look at him and goes, "Are you flying anytime soon?" And he goes, "Like to the airport? No, I'm not going anywhere." They're like, "Good, because you just picked up like a piece of firework. Like it was shrapnel that had come down and somehow got on the track."
Oh, wow.
So it was like, if a fireworks in these like cardboard balls basically that explode. So it's just like covered in gunpowder and stuff that the kid picked up. So if he was to go through TSA and they get flagged and they do the thing on your palms
Oh,
where
yeah.
they wipe you,
Yeah,
he would
he's
got
done.
lit up. Yeah.
Jeez. That's crazy. Yeah, the cell phone thing does surprise me. We were just doing Dinosaur the other weekend, and even I'm like, this ride is prone to shoot a cell phone out of my pocket. Everything.
Oh.
I'm like holding on to that sucker as tight as I can. And especially
And
nowadays,
in mine,
if you're without it, you can't even navigate Disney,
you can't get on your next ride.
Mhm.
That's for sure.
Yep.
Right. Or
Yeah.
as long as if you remember it or whatever. The thing with Mine Train too was it was clearly like, it's not popping out on Mine Train like it could on Dinosaur, right?
Right.
You actively have to have it out recording something,
yeah.
doing whatever, and woo, throw your hands up and there it goes.
Yeah. Oh, I see people pull them out on Soarin' all the time, and it makes my stomach churn. I'm so nervous for them. I'm just like,
Yeah.
put your phone away, please. Like you're making me worried that you're gonna lose it.
I know. I do it, but I'll like film like this, like it's
you
pressed
hold it like
against
up
my
against
chest.
your chest almost.
Yeah. And then I'll just be like, we're just doing this the whole time. We're just
Yeah.
doing this the entire time.
I need that like GoPro chest mount thing, right? But make them for
Chest mount.
cell phones. One
Yeah.
actually to look at. There's a company called Snap Mount. A buddy that I went to high school came up with it, and it actually, like for example, this is going way off topic, but it's a whole magnetized system for your phone. And it's
Ooh.
really made for like sports and off-roading. So like, you could literally, magnetize this sucker to the hood of your Jeep while you're going off-roading. But they have systems that magnet goes inside your shirt or almost like a chest piece that you can just,
Oh.
magnetize your phone or whatever it may be right to it. So pretty cool. I don't know if those will show up in the parks at some time, but yeah.
Well, I know some places you can do that chest mount, and like some water parks around here, not really the Disney or the Universal ones, but you can do that and go full GoPro mode,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I've always been like interested by. But then at the same time, I'm like, those things are fast. What if
Yeah.
that boy pops off, hits you in the face, whatever? But
Yeah. And
That's
then
just me.
that injury's on you. They're not going to take
yeah, that's on
any
you. That's on you,
responsibility.
homie.
All right, so you're coming up with doing podcasts and vlogging and blogging, all of this. Do you have a certain process for, creating that content? Like what is the process for Conor to say, all right, I got to get out a new podcast. Here's where I start, and then here's the day it comes out. What does everything look like in between?
Oh, chaos. Absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Total anarchy, right? I mean,
I'm so glad to hear
no.
that, to be honest.
No, I mean, we'd like to think that we're a well-oiled machine or something like that, always striving for it. But a lot of the times it's just, I got to get something out. I have been in times very inconsistent with producing, for lack of a better term, consistently, right? Like on a certain cadence. But I think with these things where it's a side gig or whatever it is, it is tough to get consistent. And I think that there's this fatigue too for a lot of people that start something, especially theme park related, when they live far away from the theme parks, right? It's to fill that void, like I said. So then when they move down here, they kind of have like a existential crisis, right? Of like, oh, well, this is what I wanted. Like I wanted to be closer to this place, right? I wanted to go more often. Is the thing I wanted to do create content about it, or is it just to live in it, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I really struggled with when I moved back down here. So now that's kind of like why I've done this rebrand to focus more on helping people versus, oh, I'm trying to fill my own void, right? For
Yeah.
me now it's that. So, usually what I do is I'll have an idea, I'll put it into a Notion, which is just like Evernote notes, kind of computer-based program. Really cool, really overwhelming too, it can be. And it just lives as an idea. And when I want to move it from an idea to maybe, hey, let's make this idea and turn it into something, when I write it down as an idea, it's usually for a medium, right? It's usually, this is going to be a good podcast. This is going to be a good video. This is going to be a good social post. This is going to be a good blog, whatever. So I already have that idea going in. So once I'm ready to kind of start on it, I'll take that idea and in Notion, I can just like edit out an outline, a script, points, whatever it is. And then I just have recently, everything that I do is basically video based. So it's a podcast, but there's a video component to it. So I use a tool for my Mac called Ecamm, and that allows me to just record right into using my external camera that's hooked up to my computer, my microphone right here that's hooked up to my computer as well. I can hit one button and it starts recording there. So for me, it's about making it as easy as possible. And then all I have to do is a little bit of editing and I can push it out to audio, to video, and then maybe even do a blog post about it. But yeah, for me, it's just about someplace to have the ideas that I think of, right? Because I'm petrified of coming up with an idea and forgetting it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I think that that's the really important part is having a great place to keep ideas. And then when you are ready, having a system that's super, super, super easy. You don't ever want to get to a point, and I still struggle with this, where you're dreading recording, doing the actual content because it's so cumbersome. Because there's a million things you have to do. You have to set up this whole backdrop with this camera and the lighting and all this. If you could just set it up where you have just a couple of buttons, and I've got really, really good about that lately, that's what makes it really, really easy. So that's kind of my content creation chaos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot like that for a lot of us. And what I want to do kind of with this series is, first of all, get to know other wonderful content creators like yourself. But part of it is selfish on my part because I can learn, from the folks that I have on. But also it's for anyone listening because, you probably get a lot of people ask you as well, like, hey, I was thinking of starting a podcast or a blog, or I want to do something about the theme parks. So I also hope that maybe these types of episodes either help them along or make them decide that maybe that's not for me. And I love how you brought up that a lot of people start these things when they're living outside the parks, and it's to fill that void. So now they're here and they're doing all this content. They're going to the parks all the time. How do you balance what we'll call work and play? And especially we're a lot in the kind of the same boat with our situations where, when we're doing the stuff in Disney creating content, it is work. We might not make a living off of it, but it's work. But you have to save time for play. You don't want to get burnt out over here. You want to have fun, but you need to, how do you balance all that when you're in the parks?
You got to get really good at compartmentalizing, right? About knowing when you're going to the parks for a certain reason to capture something, right? Or to, quote unquote, research something, right? To talk about on another episode. But I also think it's a good balance, right? So whenever I have family or friends coming down, before, when I was in the parks, I used to document everything, right? Even when I was with them. And I just realized that was draining on me, right? It was being on for the documenting of it, and then also being on for my friends and family that were there. So Now what I really try to do is just be in the moment when someone from out of town or I'm hanging out with friends in the park and we've set up that time and it is simply to do that unless it's like, we are just talking about a party,
Yeah.
right? Or something like that, an extra ticketed event where I know, listen, others can be there, but I'm only doing this once a year.
Right.
I gotta figure out how I can capture content for it to help people later on. But then it's also about so if you have like a time situation and you're meeting up with someone, give them your time because that's what they believe that you're agreeing to, right?
Yeah.
And that also lets you appreciate the parks for the reasons that you actually love the parks, right? So I'll always just do a few days a month of I'm just going to go to the parks, whether it's friends or by myself, and just be in the parks,
Yeah.
right? And that's what really energizes me because that's what we grew up coming to the parks loving, what we grew up or traveling down, loving our trips to the parks. That's the reason we wanted to be closer, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side, when I know I have to go into the park and I have to do something, it is work,
Yeah.
right? So just be a dog and treat yourself at the end, right? Give yourself a little treat, okay? Maybe it's you're gonna record some video and you also happen to buy a lightning lane single pass for Guardians of the Galaxy right at the end of it, and you get to ride that, or you get to go get a drink or a coffee or a sweet treat, or you hit some Epcot food and wine booths at the end of whatever you're doing. So I think that it is funny because you are treating yourself like a puppy dog, right? But it works,
Yeah.
right? I mean, with everything that we have to do, you want to get the fun stuff out of it, but you still got to put in the work. So if you know that there's a little sweet something at the end of it, I think that makes the work a little bit easier to do up front.
Yeah. I love that idea. And so far out of our conversation, that is the one thing I will definitely take out as most importantly, because I'm awful at doing that, of setting this time aside to say this is for enjoyment or this is with friends and this is for work, and let's treat ourselves at the end. So I love that you said all that. That's something I'll definitely need to focus on moving forward, because I think that becomes one of the hard things and why a lot of these creators get burnt out, or they do it for so long and then you listen and go, man, they're really steering towards the negative or with everything that they do, because they don't allow themselves that treat, or they don't allow themselves that time to just be with their friends and enjoy the parks the way that they did before they started doing this, and it can burn you out real quick. I think that's genius. Yeah.
And we were, when you're living somewhere else and you're traveling here, the memories you take back are usually only the good memories, unless something catastrophic happened, right? You don't remember every day waking up early, parking, walking across the hot parking lot, taking the boat if you're at Magic Kingdom, going through the long line at security before that, going through the long line at the turnstiles to get in. So when we move here, we always tell ourselves, oh, I'm never going to take it for granted, right? So every once in a while, I'll catch myself being like, oh man, I don't want to go over to Epcot. It's so far away. It's 17 minutes from my apartment to the park, right? A little less than that. I will find myself being like, oh, it's so cumbersome. It's so cumbersome, right? Because all I'm thinking about, because now I've done it so often, is I got to park, I got to walk, I got to go through security, I got to queue up, I got to go in, and then got to walk to wherever I am. So I'm thinking of all that because now I've done it so often, right? So it's that other thing of, no, forget all that. I got to do that. And then the reward is getting into the park and those sorts of things. So that's where I think people really get burned out, is because they underestimate all the little things that they have to do to get here. We still live close, but there's still annoying little things we have to go through because it's not actually in our backyard. It's not actually in our house. We don't actually live in Walt Disney World. We live pretty close, but we're still just regular guests that got to go through the main entrance.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, one of the things I try and do each trip or each day is kind of like observe another family or other people that are in the park. because you can tell who's been there before. You can tell who maybe it's their first time or they come once a year. And that's one thing I really started to take notice of is especially the way that people dress. I find very interesting because you can go, there's an entire family. Nobody's wearing a single Disney item. I can guarantee this is probably their first trip ever. And you can watch them and see, the joy in their eyes as maybe they get on a ride that you're getting on or they're, dining or something. And that does sometimes put it into perspective where you can go, man, I was complaining about coming here today. And look at these people who this is their first trip. Who knows? Maybe it's the last one they ever do here. This might be a once in a lifetime thing. And you try to be like, man, we're really lucky that we get to kind of do this. It's that always switch of between have and get, we don't have to go to the park. We get to go to the parks, which is pretty cool, So it's sometimes that perspective shift, I think.
And especially when you live closer, you're able to do those things. You're able to people watch. You're able to just sit on a bench and watch the world go by. You're able to go in, get a snack, and get out. Yeah. Right? Those are the things that are awesome. Right? I always caution people who are ready to move. It's not a vacation every single day that you're down here. Yeah. Life still goes on. You just get to go to Disney. You're going to do Disney in a very, very different way. You can have staycations still, right? You can wake up early. You can still go there, all that stuff, which is awesome. But it's still going to be a little different. But the little difference is you get to go to the parks more often, maybe in a different way.
Definitely. Yeah. I love that. All right, Connor, are you ready for the hat?
Let's do it.
This is the fun. I pull out my Jumbo hat, which I don't know why I bought because I look ridiculous in it, but now it serves a purpose. So,
I was going to ask, do you ever wear that bad boy around, maybe in the parks?
No? I did the first weekend we bought it, our first time staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I was like, I got to have the hat, and I wore it all weekend, and now I come home, and it holds fun questions for guests. So it is still serving
like a great hat.
The purpose, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go through a couple of these, and let's go through the first one. So what's a Disney IP that is currently not represented in the parks that you would love to see represented more or at all? So it could be either one that's not enough or one that's not there at all.
That's tough. I love Emperor's New Groove.
Same.
And I feel like with this new South American area coming to Animal Kingdom, I'm like, that seems great.
I know. Right?
Maybe we get like a let me guess, giant waterfall, sharp rocks at the end. Oh yeah,
yes,
bring it on, right? That sort of ride, or the Yzma roller coaster into her evil lair sort of thing. I just think that there's a lot of cool, the Andes. I think that there's a lot of really, really cool stuff that they could do with that. I also love a Goofy movie, and I know it's like now in this nostalgia phase, right, where the people that grew up with that have kids and have families, right, in there, so they're more in that kind of era. I love the Powerline dance. I love all the Powerline meet and greets and the Max and Goofy meet and greets. I feel like they could do something even more with that IP as well.
Yeah, I'm on board with you with Emperor's New Groove. I find it interesting. We're huge Stitch fans. If you couldn't tell, my shirt, and you should see the rest of our house is crazy. But I'm always just blown away by how much Stitch merchandise they do. Yet they close Great Escape. They do nothing with it. It sits forever, and there's no plans. It seems like it blows my mind. But we don't get anything like that with an Emperor's New Groove. It's interesting. And so many people that you talk to, like when you say, what's the most underrated Disney movie? I swear like 8 out of 10 bring up Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
It's nuts, but there's no representation whatsoever.
I love Emperor's New Groove. You're probably going to hate me now. I can't stand Stitch. Can't stand him.
All right. Well, this was good while it lasted. It was good being.
All right. Have a good one. Take care.
Hey,
you know why?
We all got our things.
The main thing is I never cared for the ride that much, to call the ride whatever, reskinning of another attraction. Mm-hmm. But the main reason is he vandalized Magic King Cinderella Castle.
He did.
And people forget that, and I will never forget that. He wrote Stitch rules, spray paint and toilet paper.
Yep.
And they just let him get away with it. And I've never gotten over that, clearly.
That's so funny. I love it. Yeah. What do you remember what year that was?
That was when Great Escape or Stitch's Escape
first opened, right? And that was their promotional. It was on 626 Day.
Yeah.
God, I wonder when that was.
I feel like it would have been maybe like 03, 04,
Wow. Yeah.
something like that.
That's pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we got next from the hat. This time, what's your all-time favorite, speaking of hidden gems, what's your all-time favorite hidden gem at Walt Disney World? You have anything that, not that anybody should then go like do this all the time, because then it's no longer a hidden gem, but what is Conor's hidden gem that nobody should follow up on?
Right. This is great. This is a tricky question because again, I still would like to reap the benefits of it. A hidden gem, it's hidden because there's no like actual transportation other than buses that go to it, but Three Bridges at
You're the best.
Coronado Springs.
This is why we clicked, man.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love everything that they've done over the last few years at Coronado Springs. It makes it a destination to actually go to.
Yeah.
Like there's so many cool places you can just hang out there. Great food, great drinks, incredible location. I just love the bartenders, the servers are class act.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really unique place in Walt Disney World. It's a really unique resort experience to go to. They don't do reservations, so it's only walk up or join the wait list when you get there. And I kind of like that as well. And the I would say inaccessibility, because it's only via bus or you drive there, makes it a bit more laid back, I think.
Yeah. Well, for anyone listening, I did not pay Conor to say that, because it's rarely an episode goes by that we don't bring up Coronado Springs in general, especially Three Bridges. Coronado's been one of our favorites for a long, long time. We watched the tower get built. We stayed there the opening weekend of Grand Destino. I think we went like the weekend after Three Bridges opened, and we were very fortunate because we would frequent it so much. I mean, we made a lot of great cast member friends there. Many of them have moved on to other roles, because what Coronado Springs is doing, just the culture, the Disney culture is incredible, but it's like what they're doing specifically in that resort too, it's almost just so different. And I always said Three Bridges is kind of like a mom and pop restaurant. Like it has that like local feel, and they're constantly evolving, they're constantly updating, the menus and all. I mean, that place in general helped keep the NBA alive during the bubble and COVID, I mean, that was the place that they went, was Three Bridges. Like it's such an incredible spot. So we got to go, and we'll grab dinner there sometime for sure, and just enjoy our love for this hidden gem that nobody should go visit.
Nobody go there. It's incredible, but no one should go there.
No, never go there.
Agreed.
Yeah. Don't get the corn dip.
Definitely.
All right, what are 3 items you have to have in the park with you? We'll put phone aside because, again, like we were kind of talking about, you almost can't navigate. But outside of maybe having your phone on you, what are like 3 essentials that you just have to have in the parks?
An umbrella. Like the amount of times where I'm like, you know what? It's not going to rain. I'll leave it. And then it rains.
Yep.
Just constant. Fan. Right. So the abundance of affordable, cheap, portable fans, whether it's a neck fan, whether I have these little, they're shaped like Mickey. Definitely not Disney approved.
Yeah.
You just get them on Amazon. I have like a 3-pack of them. So I always got them in one bag or whatever.
Okay.
Those are great. And then my third thing is a water bottle.
Yeah.
Did people just like, well, I have some strong opinions about water bottles. Like the 64-ounce water bottles, I mean, that's too much water.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. There's no way people are drinking that much water. But I also think it's funny because like my parents, when they were growing up, if they would be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm thirsty," they'd just have, "Okay, here's a glass of milk." They're like, could you imagine like just decades, generations of people just walking around as dehydrated as humanly possible? So get yourself a water bottle, fill it up, even with the bad fountain water that they have around there. Your headache will subside, and you'll be able to go that much longer in the parks.
I remember being a kid playing out in the sun in the summer and coming inside and drinking a tall glass of milk in a plastic cup. So how I didn't turn out to be a serial killer, I don't know, because that is just odd behavior right
I
there.
do.
That
I
is
mean,
so
I am a
strange.
serial killer with milk. I kill boxes
You kill
of
boxes
cereal
of- yeah.
constantly.
See, and
yeah.
now, I mean, I can't remember the last time I drank milk. You know, I
Oh,
probably, as I get
yeah.
older, I probably need to, but either that or
Yeah.
take some sort of vitamin or something. I'll have to look that up. All
Bring
right.
milk back.
Let's see. What has been one of your most unexpected moments while creating content? You have had any interesting moments in the parks or anything while you're trying to get content?
Oh, I don't know about in the parks. One thing, this was years ago, a listener sent me an email that said, Connor, I just wanted to let you know I was making dinner. Excuse me. I was making dinner and I had I won't say the name, I'll just spell it. I had the Alexa playing your most recent episode while I was making dinner. And as soon as you started talking on the episode, I heard the pitter patter of feet, and my 6-year-old daughter came running into the room and said, "Oh, is Connor on? Is Connor on?"
That's
And
awesome.
he's like, "Just to let you know, she's a big fan too." And I'm like, "That's crazy
Yeah.
to me, right? Like
That's awesome.
that's absolutely insane that, now that's that family that kind of listens and has such a close quote unquote relationship with listening to those episodes that
Yeah.
it's just really, really, really cool. And I think that that's something that only podcasting can do. I don't think you're going to connect with someone via a blog
Yeah.
like that, right? But that was something that totally unexpected and really, really, really cool that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you feel good, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm sure, you probably feel the same way. Sometimes you're just going, why am I still doing this? Like,
Yep.
this is a lot of work. It's not a lot of pay, if any, sometimes. And then you get moments like that and you're like, okay, that's pretty awesome. Like, that's really, really cool. I love that.
I think the universe is good about sending you those things when you're at the low points too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as you like make good content, right? And it is useful, I think you do get rewarded when you're at your low points to just kind of keep going with those things. And
Yeah.
those are the little sprinklings that you need.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that you brought that memory up, or that specific moment of her hearing your voice. I mean, we've been in the park before where somebody's been like, Jeremy and Rhonda, I recognized your voice. Didn't know what we looked like. And you're just like, how is that even possible? But it makes you feel good. And you're like, all right, this is why we're doing this. Really, like, this is the number one reason why we're doing this, and everything else can fall into line behind it. But moments like that, you're just like, all right, that's pretty cool. Like, that makes
Such
you feel
confidence to have too, to come up and be like, are you
Yeah, what if
Jeremy
I
recognize
wasn't?
from I've never seen that would have been
That would have been super
awkward.
embarrassing. Yeah, they would have just been like, yeah, I don't even know
Yeah.
who the Jeremy and Rhonda are. Let's see. If you could live inside any Disney park attraction, what would it be?
Oh man.
Connor gets to lay his head down at night in a Disney park attraction.
Yeah. That's a good one. Living with the Land. It's the only one that seems to have a formidable house,
There you go.
a house I could live in.
Yeah. You got
There's a
food
lot
source?
there. Food
Yep.
sources, plenty
Yep.
of I'm a big food guy, of course, so abundance there. Peaceful when you want it to be in certain sections of it. Chaos in others, I guess,
Mhm.
if you're seeking that out. Very different sort of scenes, right, to fit your moods and how you're feeling that day. Yeah, I could lay my head down and living with the land. We just have to turn off the goats, I think. I don't think I
Yes.
could take the goat sounds
All
24/7.
24/7. That would be
Yeah.
a rough
Yeah.
one. Here's actually a question. What gets shut down during the nights at a park? For example, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and the interactive queue elements and things like that. I mean, is there just one giant switch that goes and they're off all night, or are those things running? How does that work? I've always wondered about that.
So everyone is different. So it depends on the size of your attraction, right? How it operates at night. So Mine Train was such a big attraction, right? A lot of moving pieces, a lot of different vehicles to operate that. There was actually a maintenance bay in Mine Train where all the cars could go off the track. And if so, inside baseball here, at unload, where you're getting off the ride, if you look to the left, there's where the track goes back. That's where we would send the trains back in. So they would actually back up into there, and they would sit on another track back there, and then the maintenance people would pull it on their end into their shop. So they would have room for all of those ones. So right as the night was winding down, the third shift maintenance group would come in, put all their stuff away, start going back there to start servicing things. So throughout the night, they would say, hey, keep this element on when you go to close down, or shut everything down. We're only working on the cars tonight. So they would always have their checks and procedures that they have to go to. Or maybe we'd be like, hey, Doc on the lift hill has been acting a little funky today. Maybe go check him out. So most of those things are a lot of different switches, right? Because even when you turn the ride off, there's power that has to run to certain elements that keeps things going. But it's funny you said that, because I do remember one instance. So the outside stuff really was just a switch. So the interactive queue was just pretty much a switch. One day, but a switch on like a big command center. We called it Tower. So you go into Tower, and that's where you are in charge of everything, and you're pushing buttons and making sure everything's running properly, resetting stuff. One day we turn the ride on, and people, it's like January, so it's pretty cold, Florida cold. People come in and they're shivering, and we're like, it's not that cold, all right? They're being a bit dramatic. And someone comes in and goes, could you please turn off the fans outside? And we're like, understood.
No. Yeah.
So the fans in the queue were just running constantly, just blowing cold air. And in that instance, that legitimately is a light switch on the side of the wall that we just reach back and turn off all of the fans. But for whatever reason, someone's going through the motions when they're setting it up and turn on all the lights, and they turn the fans on. Yeah.
It's so fascinating to me, just the processes and everything. And, it's this 24/7 operating machine. I mean, and that's, so many theme parks and businesses and all. But when you think about what goes on, after hours and overnight to continue to run everything and make everything safe and clean and all those environments, it just it blows my mind to walk around early in the morning a resort, and you're watching the custodial staff go through and wipe off and spray off every last walkway or wipe down every trash can, and it's all those kind of things that make, places like Disney and Universal just incredible, that it just, everybody loves to visit them because exactly what you're getting every single time. It's going to be safe. It's going to be clean. It's just, that's so cool. I love hearing.
Sometimes it's a 20-step process. Sometimes it's just a light switch on the wall.
Yeah. And that's what's amazing too. Yeah. I love that. Fans off. Let's go. I could do that job. That one I could handle. I'm not sure about a lot of the others. All right. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party? Which is better and why?
Purpose?
I did.
Did you do this on purpose?
I did do this one on purpose.
All right.
I wasn't guaranteed it would show up though, because I've got a lot of things in this hat, but that was destined to come out, I guess. So
it wasn't guaranteed. You just folded it enough and put it on top, and you knew which one.
This was the only paper that was printed on, or the only one that was printed on yellow paper. So it's kind of
there you go. Which would help if you weren't colorblind, but
correct,
nonetheless, you
still got lucky.
I love both. I've said that before. I will say it again. I love both. I really, really do. They're both really, really awesome. I also love Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, right? Yeah. So I enjoy me some Halloween. For me, it's Christmas. It's just Christmas over Halloween to me, and that extends to the Christmas party. One thing that I'll get flack on, not a big Hocus Pocus guy. Okay. All right, not a big Hocus Pocus guy. So I don't particularly care for that stage show. Now, the one that Minnie does at Very Merry, Call Me for Christmas, text me Merry Christmas, that song she sings, ridiculous, absolutely insane. I'm not saying that that's better than the Sanderson sisters, but I just seeing the toy soldiers, seeing those floats, snowing on Main Street, those fireworks, it's just a vibe and a feeling for me that I tend to gravitate towards more.
Yeah.
Maybe it also helps that generally it isn't 10,000 degrees during a Christmas party where it could possibly be,
or a
during a
hurricane.
Halloween party, or a hurricane,
two
or two
weeks in a
hurricanes.
row that cancel
Yeah.
both of your attempts at the Halloween party.
Okay.
That's so I would say like we're more Christmas people overall than Halloween, but I think as of now, my wife and I both like the Halloween party better, but we have not done the Christmas party in about 5 years. We are doing it this year for the first time in a very long time. So I'll have to re-answer that question after. Let me ask you this, because we do seem to have a lot in common other than you hating Stitch and not loving Hocus Pocus. Do you enjoy Hallmark Christmas movies by chance?
Oh, I think I would. I do things with an intention to, I can only have so many things I'm obsessed over, right? So sometimes I
We are a lot alike.
I actively choose not to seek things out because I'd be like, oh, this is so ridiculous. I have to watch 10 more of them, which I feel like the Hallmark Christmas thing that could easily happen. No, there is one I need to seek out. I've been told that there's one, and I haven't been told, I've seen the trailer for it. There's one filmed in Dollywood, right, with Jimmy Fallon?
Mm-hmm. I think so,
Okay.
yeah. I believe there was. Yeah.
I gotta see that.
Yeah.
I love Dollywood. I gotta check that one out. But then again, if I check that out, maybe I'm gonna
You're
get hooked.
enthralled.
And then
They're
I'm gonna have
addictive.
another problem.
I'm telling you. The Hallmark. We did try and watch. They're now expanding where they're trying to do like fall movies. And we tried one. We're like, this isn't it. I need snow. I need that ridiculous, Christmas vibe of the perfect Christmas town for me to really get into this. Fall's not cutting it for me. So
And it seems like they've become a parody of themselves.
They really
right?
have.
Like they keep going crazier and crazier. But it's also that I think that formulaic approach that like
works.
my monkey brain
Yeah.
likes, right? Because I'm like, I know exactly what I'm gonna get.
Yep.
And this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that helps. Like I love a movie with a twist, but I have to be ready for that. You know what I mean? Like I think it's kind of what you're saying. Like you have to be like, all right, I'm watching a movie. I know it's let's just say, I don't know, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. First one comes to mind. You're like, I know some stuff's going to go down. I got to pay attention. I got to really be tuned in. And the Hallmark movies you just put on and you're like, those two are going to fall in love. And I know that at the end. So if I miss a little bit, that's okay. I'll just catch right back up and watch it then. So, but
you can piece it together.
You could check out I'll send you a couple recommendations, a few. Maybe you won't get too.
Please do.
Right?
Yeah,
I will.
I still haven't seen Inception because I know there's a twist and I'm just not ready for it.
I haven't seen
don't know
it
what
either.
the twist. There you go.
I used to own the DVD. I bought the DVD or the Blu-ray, and I never even watched it. So
You had all the intentions.
I did. I had good intentions. Ask Rhonda. She gets frustrated because I have to be in a mood for a movie.
I am. Yeah,
Very specific mood, right?
it's 2 hours.
Yeah, that's 2 hours of your life. You gotta.
Yeah.
You're gonna be taken away from all these important things like social media, where you got to be tuned in every second because God knows what you'll miss. Maybe this answer will be Three Bridges. Maybe it won't. If you had to eat every meal at a Disney World restaurant for an entire year, which restaurant would you pick?
Well, I would pick Art Smith's Homecoming
Because a really good pick.
because of brunch,
Yes.
right? So I could get enough different stuff out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now to be honest, I would assume I would probably, if I was eating every meal there every day, I'd probably make it to maybe 4 months, and then I'd probably RIP. Right? I don't think you could make it a year there.
You'd probably have to work in some sort of health regimen to make it through an
A lot
entire
of
year of
laps.
Art Smith's.
Yep. A lot of laps around Disney Spring because even their salads, that icebox ranch dressing that they do, the homemade ranch. I mean, that's not helping anybody out there. I mean, it's incredible, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when the healthy food is still comfort food, you're like, all right, he knows what he's doing now. You got time for a
So
couple
good.
more?
Yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any Disney related tattoos? If so, what? If not, have you ever thought about getting one?
I'm tattoo free.
Okay.
Um, um, I've never thought of getting a Disney. I so kind of sort of. The one tattoo I've thought of getting is just a phrase. Well, actually, I've thought of two. The one is I'd love to get over my left chest the Ralph Lauren logo. So even when I take my shirt off at the beach, it still looks like I'm wearing a polo.
I love
That's my dad's joke. I think it's great. Um, uh, the other one, so it's quasi Disney related. So I get the words Memento Mori tattooed somewhere. Memento Mori. I mean, I have it. I think it's back here actually. The sign, you can't see it, it's just off camera. It says Memento Mori. Of course, the sign or the shop just outside of Haunted Mansion in Disney World. But Memento Mori is actually a Stoic phrase. So Stoicism back in the day, ancient Rome, the Greeks as well a little bit. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He was also in Gladiator with Russell Crowe. That's the emperor that they depict. He's a huge Stoic. Stoicism just means like being dealt the cards that you get and reacting to it in an even keeled sort of way, understanding what's in your control and what's not in your control. Memento Mori translates in Latin to remember your death, reflect upon your death. And it's basically this notion of like, remember, this is all going to end at some point. And a couple of generations from now, people are going to forget and stuff. So really focus on the moment and what you can do, because this is going to be gone in an instant. For my old school history nerds, when Roman generals would come in to Rome after victory, they would have a servant behind them whispering Memento Mori into their ears as they're praised and stuff, basically saying, bringing them back down to earth, right? Like, remember, dude, this is going to be over in the blink of an eye. So it's kind of a way to ground you. So that is a quasi Disney tattoo, right? Because it's really the only one I've ever thought about getting. And it also happens to be a gift store at Disney World.
That's amazing. That's fascinating. I didn't know all that behind it. That's so cool. Yeah. I will. I can't wait to tell Rhonda that, because that's one of her favorite shops, and we love Haunted Mansion, obviously. But yeah, it's so deep rooted in all of that history and stuff. That is very cool. Look at that. Educational.
Yeah. There you go.
Entertaining and educational.
That's what I'm here for.
What's your ultimate Disney World bucket list item?
Now it's going to any of the Club 33s.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to.
Have you ever been to one?
No.
Never
been to any of them.
Me
How about
either,
you?
man. Me either. So we're in the not going to Club 33 group. We could start that.
Figure it out.
You can be president.
Thank you, Vice President. Please,
Yep,
President. It's too much responsibility.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
No, I would love that. I mean,
yeah,
just to see inside. So what's funny is, so the one in Epcot is American Adventure, right? So if you, I guess depending upon what door you're looking at, there's a little white door, more towards the entrance to where the Voices of Liberty sing, and there's a little Club 33 logo right there. I have been in that section prior to when it was Club 33. It used to be a Disney Visa Chase Lounge.
That's right. I totally forgot that.
My mom has a Disney Visa, and we would go up there. We went up there a couple of times. It was just like a chill zone, right? Just to hang out, sodas, stuff like that. And then they took it away from her to build the Club 33 there. So I assume it wasn't bad back then. It was just, it is what it was. I would assume that it's much more elaborate
a little bit better,
now.
Yeah. That's so, I have been up there, and I did not remember that until you just said that. And now I can like vividly picture it. That's crazy. I totally forgot that was up there.
So I don't know. I don't think, the one in Magic Kingdom in Adventureland, right as you enter Adventureland, to the right, I don't think that was ever anything before. The one in Animal Kingdom, which is up on the hill, if you're walking from Africa to Pandora on the right, I don't think that was it might have been an event space or something like that. But the one at Hollywood Studios, which you have to go in the Brown Derby for
Mm-hmm.
to see, that used to be way back when the Catwalk Lounge, the Catwalk Club.
Oh,
So there was a
okay.
bar above Hollywood Brown Derby. I don't think it was there for a very long time,
Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up.
but from what I've been told, that's what it used to be there. So that a space was there and people had been there before, like day guests.
Okay. Very cool. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
learning all kinds of stuff, man.
There you go.
I appreciate that. How do you balance the nostalgia and the new things are coming? You know, for example, let's chat a little bit maybe about like Rivers of America.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the constant changes that are coming within the parks, especially when they replace these things that, you know, many of us have grown up with, some since day one, you know, some maybe a little more recent. Now they're getting transformed. How do you balance that? Do you welcome it, or are you like a nostalgia guy?
Um, my nostalgia is my nostalgia, and that's my nostalgia, right?
That
So
is really good.
so whatever you do going forward, it's still my nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
I have those memories. I don't necessarily need an anchor point to retrieve those memories. Yet my mind is still pretty sound, thank goodness. You know, what's so interesting is that I used to hate the hat at, you know, at times MGM Studios and then
Yep.
Hollywood Studios, right? I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it was fun for the first 2 years and the pin store underneath, but then I was like, just get out of the way. Like, I love the Chinese theater. Like, let's
Yes.
see that, right? It's beautiful. Um, Eventually they took the hat down, right? And my cousins and aunt came for a trip and they're like, oh, we can't wait to see the hat. I'm like, the hat's gone. It's dusted. We got it out of there. It's great. And they're like, how could they get rid of that? That was the best. We loved the hat. Every trip that they had taken before, the hat was there. They only knew the hat,
Yeah.
right? So once I realized that, and I'm like, somebody is always going to love this one thing,
Yeah.
right? Somebody's favorite Disney nighttime spectacular is going to be Harmonious. I haven't met them, but I bet you there is somebody out there that loved Harmonious, right? Because the cool thing of Disney, we talked about at the very beginning, Disney attracts such a wide swath of people to Disney Parks fandom that there's going to be different tastes, different strokes for different folks everywhere. So nostalgia wise, I think that it's very intimate. So you can't say, you know, this has to stay and this has to go and those sorts of things. I will be honest, like I was nervous about the Country Bears
Mm-hmm.
and I like the new version. Like
Me
I
too.
think it's fun.
Yeah.
And I got to do a D23 preview of it where there was an Imagineer and a person from the Disney Archives and they're talking about it. And the Imagineer, who's the show producer, said, in order for the Bears to be here for 50 more years, people have to come and see the Bears. And this is how people are going to come and see the Bears. So
That's awesome.
that's kind of the preservation that I like,
Yeah.
right? There's no blood on the saddle. That stinks. But the Bears are still there in some iteration. With Rivers of America, that's a bit different because I think that there's this kinetic energy to it,
Yes.
right? So from my understanding now, there is, you know, talks that no, there's going to be waterfalls, there's going to be, you know, moving elements and stuff. Okay, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that that's the thing. It's not a one-to-one replacement. It's a mood that you're removing and you're replacing it with a different mood now. Yeah. So I think I welcome all the new stuff. I love it. I'll be first in line or as close to the front of the line as I can get for all the new things opening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
With that one, I think they have to get it really, really, really right to a lot of people.
Yeah. So
that it's not just taking away an energy and displacing it, right? That's where I'm kind of at with those elements.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I do think this is one specifically that will put such a huge bullseye on Disney's back to get it just perfect. And yeah, I agree. It's taking away that feel and that kinetic energy of walking through there. So as long as they can, replace that in some manner, I always think it is the parks evolving for all the next generations. Because obviously
Yeah.
the things that we remember as a kid and loved, my kids don't know, but now there's something that they love, and in 50 years they're going to be mad because it's being replaced. But it's still bringing the parks, it's bringing Disney and these things to new generations by, Country Bears is a perfect one. I love the Country Bears. My dad is Big Al. That is his nickname growing up. He has an old Big Al poster still hanging in his garage that he probably when we went in like 87 or something for our first trip, And he's still got kids that call him, family, friends that call him Big Al. And they're my age, And so I've always been drawn to it and loved it. But man, I went to see the new one. Every person in that theater was laughing. Every person was singing along. Every person was clapping. Nobody was doing that with the original, version or the older version, we could say. And not because it wasn't great, but because we've outgrown it, I think.
Yeah.
And so I like to see that. I think the same way about the live action remakes. I think it's bringing these stories to new generations. If you ask either one of my kids who are now 14 and 16, would you rather watch the original animated Beauty and the Beast, or would you rather watch the live action? They're going to pick the live action every single time. That's going to be the Beauty and the Beast and the Belle that they grew up with. And I think there's room for that in the parks as well. We're always going to be, sad when we lose something that we love. But I love you saying that, like, my nostalgia is my nostalgia. And that'll never be taken away. Like, nobody can take away, Disney's not coming in and saying, let's take away all of, Jeremy's memories of Rivers of America. He'll never, remember that or have photos from it or podcast about it or anything. That's all gone. No. You still have all this, and we get something new. So it's like you get the best of both worlds, right?
I loved Food Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
People always say, okay, well, the thing that it replaced was much better in Kitchen Cabaret.
Yeah.
I bet you're going to be hard pressed to find someone that's like, oh, I wish that was there over Soarin', right?
Right.
Like, so there's three distinct things. There's people that loved Kitchen Cabaret. There's me, the weirdo, that loved Food Rocks, mainly because I didn't really see Kitchen Cabaret. But we can both probably agree that Soarin' was a good replacement for that.
But does anyone really like Awesome Planet? That one I see. That's where I did see. There are some times because I don't remember seeing if I did Kitchen Cabaret or Food Rocks. Like I don't know if I ever saw them. I'm not sure. But I'd love to see them again. That is sometimes where I wish Disney could have like a nostalgia area almost where like they could bring things back for limited runs because nobody's going to see Awesome Planet. All it does is make you feel bad for 30 minutes about being a human. So, maybe we could bring something back in there and have like certain runs during the festival periods or something. I don't know, but.
And Ty Burrell is in it, and he's a real estate agent, but he's not Phil Dunphy, the real estate agent from Modern Family. It's all very confusing. One thing that I'll give to Universal over Disney, Universal does such a good job from a merchandise standpoint and from now a show standpoint, even a theme park like a parade standpoint, of remembering their past attractions.
Yeah.
Like there's so much good stuff from Jaws, right? From past attractions that they had in the park there, that you can still get that kind of lives on in its own way.
Yeah, I mean, look at the parade that they're doing right now. I mean,
that's all it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible if they could bring that back. And I've been interested that, you bring up Ty Burrell. I just started rewatching Modern Family again from like episode 1. And Phil's one of my favorite characters. But it's always surprised me how they took someone like that, and then they took a Eugene Levy and a Catherine O'Hara, and they didn't play up not only their characters that they're known for in these situations, but almost their voices. Like they didn't even give like Eugene and Catherine O'Hara like be yourselves. Instead, it seems very like, here's a script, you read it, go a little monotone if you want. Like they could have brought things to life so much more, I think, if they had actually utilized, those actors and actresses that we all know and love and the characters and stuff. I wish it's something that they would maybe lean a little more into.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of that is like, I don't know if Canada is still invested in that pavilion.
Right.
Like if like tourism board gives them money like they did back in the day.
That they have control.
Yeah, but even with that, it's like there still should be some of it, especially if it's a faceless narration that they're doing.
Right.
You know, at least with Martin Short, like he was crazy in that show.
Yep.
Right.
It was
like,
so Martin
dressing
Short.
up as a Mountie, like all this stuff. Yeah. And going back to like Soren, David Putty, up there, Patrick Warburton, you know, I see a little bit of Putty in him or his character from Rules of Engagement, you know, not enough Kronk, obviously, but you know.
Rules of Engagement, I think, is one of the most underrated sitcoms of all time. I will
Great
say that.
show.
So good.
Great show.
Yeah. Classic
So
David
good.
Spade. Like,
love
it.
David Spade.
It is one of the best. I'm glad you bring that up. I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find that anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do one more, and then we'll close up shop for today. What is the most Disney adult thing you've ever done that you are secretly maybe proud of or not so proud of?
I don't know.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the term Disney adult?
I don't identify with it. No, I think it's rooted in you know, being like an annoying sort of person, right?
It always
like,
seems to have a negative connotation outside, I think, of us Disney adults.
Right. Yeah. Or for everyone that's like, I just don't understand. I'm like, it's already busy enough. You don't have to come here. Okay. We don't need more people here. It's fine. Well, Disney adults wise, you know, this past July, there were 7 of us, all adults, that went on a Disney cruise. It was to Lookout and Castaway on the Magic. So it was just a group of adults on a Disney cruise, and it was freaking awesome. We were all friends, so that was a lot of fun. That's probably my most proudest Disney adult memory.
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, Conor, let everybody know where they can find you. Just make sure they can come out and check out your website, listen to your podcast, read your blog, social media. Go ahead, tell everybody.
Absolutely. You can go to vacationkingdoms.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Vacation Kingdoms, and Facebook is at Vacation Kingdoms as well. Podcast wise, just type in Vacation Kingdoms to wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also type that into YouTube, and you'll find the video version of the podcast as well. We do 3 podcasts. We do the Vacation Kingdoms, which is all about Disney World. We do Ahoy, which is all about Disney Cruise Line, and we do the Universal Report, which is all about the Universal Orlando Resort. So that's all the places you can check out my stuff on the interwebs.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for joining me. It was fun to learn more about you. Hopefully this is a start of a friendship that we can connect more often. So, especially in the parks. I'll be excited to meet up with you in the parks here sometime. And you can actually get to know Rhonda a little bit, since she only ducked in for momentum and took a group photo. So you can see the woman behind the photo taking.
And it was a great photo. I was in it. No complaints.
Yes.
5 stars.
Front and center.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, Conor, thank you so much. Look forward to connecting very soon. Huge thanks again to Conor for joining me. Had such a good time hearing more about him and getting to know Conor better. If you've not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get these brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. You can also go to our website at mainstmagic.com and sign up for our email list to get up-to-date information and news. And then whether you're ready for your next Disney destination vacation or your first, our trusted partner, MEI-Travel and Mouse Fan Travel, will handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer free vacation planning services and have nearly 20 years of experience creating memorable Disney vacations. You can visit mainstmagic.com/travel for a fee-free, no-obligation quote today. And as long as you're out there, you know that I would be thankful, Rhonda would be thankful, and I'm sure Conor would be thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review. It really does help the show grow. That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts. Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.